The Chicago Bears reportedly could have a game in Germany against the Chiefs next season. The Bears also have a second meeting with Jalen Carter. Could that be an indication that maybe the Bears are inclined to draft Jalen Carter? We're going to talk about all that plus some more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
All right, Bears fans, welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. If you want to follow me, you can do so right off the top at CEO Haize, at CEO Haize. On every social media platform, you can also follow the show at Chi Bears Central. But let's get into it for today. So, according to David Kaplan, the Bears could potentially be playing the Kansas City Chiefs in Germany next season. And this is pretty big for the Chicago Bears. The Bears don't typically give up home games to go play overseas. They have played overseas. I think the last time they played overseas was against the Raiders in 2019. So if the Bears more than likely won't be giving up a home game. Makes sense. They're slated to play Kansas City, the Chiefs in Kansas City. So the Chiefs will be the one giving up a home game in this. And as you guys know, I grew up a large part of my childhood in Germany, in Mannheim, Germany at that. So the Bears playing in Germany is going to be fun. And I do think that, when you talk about the Bears and how they've been mentioned and possibly taking part of Hard Knocks and, now maybe getting this opportunity of playing overseas, like it's just all opportunities to bring towards the Bears, to bring more eyes towards the Bears, and the Bears being kind of propped up a little bit by the NFL. And I think that if they do get the honor of going overseas and playing, while I know it makes it more difficult, the timing issues with fans here in the States and things like that, but like let's not overlook the fact that, hey, it is the Bears being selected for something. It's not something that a lot of teams get to do and things like that. So, if the Bears do end up playing a game in Germany against the Kansas City Chiefs, hey, more power to them. We're going to be up late, though. We're going to be up late covering that game. That's all I can tell you guys on that one. We're going to be up late, probably still in some shape, form, or fashion, find a way to give you guys a post-game show, something like that. During that time, you guys, hey, overseas fans, support the team. So we're going to still support it even when the Bears play, hopefully, overseas against Germany. We'll see what ends up shaking out with that. But let me know down below. What are you guys' thoughts? Are you excited about the Bears potentially getting the opportunity to go play in Germany against the Kansas City Chiefs? Do you look at this as one of those things that doesn't really matter? Like, how do you look at that? How do you view? We want to hear from you guys. Make sure you sound off on that one down below. But let's move on. So the Bears have had a second meeting with Jalen Carter, the talented defensive tackle from Georgia. And this one comes from Adam Shefter, who said that he had a second visit now with the Chicago Bears. Ryan Poles has already talked about kind of the importance of bringing in high character guys to this team, and even questioning like, hey, as we're still trying to build the culture here, the question is, do we have the culture that's gonna help mold and shape somebody that may have some questionable character things? But a second interview says that Ryan Poles is doing his due diligence, and he said as much in that same interview that they're going to do their research. And him having a second interview with the Bears is, I just look at it as them doing what needs to be done. Because if a talent like Jalen Carter does somehow fall to you at number 9, you do have to question that. And I know some Bears fans, and I'm not saying you're wrong for feeling this way, want to avoid any potential drama. They want to avoid any potential character issues. And then he's also, outside of the character issues, he's had issues and questions about his motor. He's had questions about, how much is he going to put in work to stay in the physical peak that he'll need to be to compete at the NFL level. All those questions surround Jalen Carter. But with the talent that he potentially could have, I do look at it as you have to try. If you think that he's going to fall there, you have to do as much research as possible to really kind of put yourself in making the best decision that's for your football team. And that's what Ryan Poles is doing. We know scheme fit as much as character fit, as much as everything else is going to be as big part as what Ryan Poles does his research on. But I do think the Bears taking an additional look at Jalen Carter may mean that, hey, maybe they are, after their fillers and kind of, trying to survey what other teams may do in the draft, that they think that there's a chance that he may fall to them. And if he does, they want to have all their full bevy of research at hand to know if he's a guy that, is going to be able to compete at the level they're going to need him to compete at, especially if you're using a top 10 pick on him overall. So, as much as like Jalen Carter was expected to be a top 4 pick, and then before all the issues came out, has since dropped, I still don't see him dropping to number 9 for the Chicago Bears. I could very well be wrong in that, right? Again, I've said it before. I don't necessarily see him, getting past Detroit and things like that. But you want to do as much research as possible. You want to have everything at your at your hands and really, do your research there before you pass up potentially on a guy if he does fall to you because of some character things. Like, and they're young. We've all made mistakes while we're young, and I don't want to, just put that, that blanketed statement on everyone and just mean that everybody's going to come out of some of the things that they do wrong, because some people don't. And the last thing you want to do is use a top 10 pick on somebody who not only has character concerns, but maybe has motor issues and things that they may just not be able to stay at that physical condition and put in the work necessary and grind enough for an NFL career. But I don't personally have those questions about Jalen Carter. But again, I'm not somebody who interviews draft prospects. To me, if Jalen Carter falls to you at number 9 and you've moved down from the number 1 overall spot, you take Jalen Carter. That's my opinion. I can understand the questions. I understand the people that more so want the Bears to go offensive line. Either way, I think that pick is going to be in the trenches. But we'll end up seeing, and you guys can let me know, with the Bears interviewing Jalen Carter again, do you think that this means that they may be more inclined to draft Jalen Carter if he does fall to 9? Or do you think just because of all the things and questions going on around him, would you still like to see the Bears pass up on Jalen Carter? I go back and forth on it all the time, if I'm just being honest with you guys. Like, there are times where I'm like, no, you absolutely take him, which is where I am now. If he falls to number 9, you take him. But then there are times as well that I'm looking at some of the other talent in this draft and some that don't have the questions that Jalen Carter has. And while they may not have the ceiling of Jalen Carter, they still project to be multi-year starters at the NFL level. And you could get that and know that they're going to work hard as well. So I go back and forth on it, but you guys can let me know what you think on it down below, or if you're in the podcast side, I'll tell you how to get in your thoughts and stuff into us here at the end of the show. But let's move into the next topic. The next one is, what are the biggest questions that the Chicago Bears have heading into the NFL draft, right? And the one of the biggest ones is, where do you go with our first pick in the draft? A lot of us think you're going to go offensive tackle because of the talent that's there. Peter Sikoronski, Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones. You have that talent there at the number 9 position. But then you also have Myles Murphy. You have some other defensive linemen as well that are there. Tyree Wilson that are there at that position. And the reason why that's a big question for the Chicago Bears is that if you do go offensive tackle at that position in the NFL draft, high up in the NFL draft, there's still really good defensive linemen you can get further in the draft. And we know Ryan Poles, just because he comes in with only one first round pick and 2 seconds, doesn't necessarily mean that's how he's going to walk out of it. We know that he can go in acquisition mode and try to acquire more picks. But that's one of the biggest questions. And then thus, once you do get that tackle, what does that mean for Braxton Jones, right? Do you move him to right tackle? Does he stay at left tackle, right? Those type of questions are there depending on who you pick. But I think you have that versatility there that you can just take the best offensive tackle available and then let whatever fall where it falls and have the competition battle. So, we'll see what that means for the Chicago Bears. The next up after that also is, what's going on with Cody Whitehair, right? You look at Cody Whitehair, we know that it's been reported, it's been said that he's probably going to move back to center. But the question that I have here is that with Cody Whitehair and the $14 million salary cap hit he has in 2023, if you walk away with a center in this draft that you think that can start, what does that mean for Cody Whitehair, right? Does that even change anything for Cody Whitehair? Again, if you get a center later in the draft, who's to say? We did get Braxton Jones in the 5th round, and he ended up being a day 1 starter for us. But if you do get a younger center in this upcoming draft, does that mean that you may consider cutting Cody Whitehair just because of that salary cap hit and maybe going elsewhere? Do you more so at that point have Cody Whitehair serve as their starting center, and then you're training up that new younger center that you get? Again, I'm not saying with the number 9 pick, I'm saying later in the draft, like Luke Whippler is a potential one there. Do you then, have that center have a year of being a depth piece, have a year of learning behind Cody Whitehair, and then you just eat that salary cap, and then you have maybe your future starting center at that case? Like, there's a lot of options for the Bears right now and what they do. And so, that's another thing that we can take a look at for the Chicago Bears in this draft is that question. So I think that there's a lot of centers in this. There's a lot of talented offensive linemen in this draft overall anyway. But when you look at that, right, how far down do the Bears are willing to go as far as the offensive lineman that they still think could be a starting level player for them. So that's another question. I really do like Luke Whippler too, out of Ohio State. I like my Ohio State guys. You guys know I live in Columbus, so I really do like my Ohio State guys. But again, he's somebody that the Bears could go after later in that draft, and we can have that answered question. So that question answered. That question answered. All right, the last one in this question, as far as the Bears in the NFL draft, is: do they look at any other skill positions, right? Do they look at running back? Do they look at wide receiver, right? I know there are a lot of Bears fans. I even talked to one in the comment section yesterday on the YouTube channel that said that the Bears would be crazy to pass up on Robinson. Some people think that the Bears would be crazy to pass up on JSN out of Ohio State, out of Jackson Smith and Njigba. So like there's a lot of questions there. But I don't think the Bears are going to go number 9 pick. They're not going to go a skill position. That's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong on that. We already know Ryan Poles would do whatever Ryan Poles do. But that's another question that Bears fans are looking at as well. If you do go skill position, or when you go skill position, how late is it in the draft? What level of talent are you getting at that point? Do you try to find maybe a long-term, starter, since you've only signed 4 men in 1 year, running back later in the draft, which there still are some quality running backs that you can get in rounds 3 or 4? Those are the type of questions right now that are surrounding the Bears heading into the draft. We're a little over 20 days away from the NFL draft, and we got tons of potential, tons of moves, tons of things that this draft could still be. But like I said on yesterday's episode, the future is bright for the Chicago Bears, and I, for one, am excited about the future of this team and this franchise. And the draft kind of kicks all that off. We've already kicked it all off, but the draft is going to be a big telling part over that future and what talent we're going to have here for the Bears going forward. And we'll end up seeing, man. We have a lot of options at that number 9 pick. And I think whatever we do at number 9 is going to kind of inform us on what we're going to do later on in that draft. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know who do you think the Bears are going to go with at number 9, even if it is a Robinson, JSN out of Ohio State, whoever you think that it's going to be. Go ahead and sound off on that down below as well. Leave those bear downs in the comment section as well. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in to another daily episode of Chicago Bears Central. Make sure you guys are following the show at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform that we're on. You can also send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number 1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related. And like I like to end every episode on, bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.